I have to admit that after what looked like an extremely promising first season, packed with Sapphic hints strong enough that a heartfelt confession of love between Mariana and Ana closed the finale, the newly released second season of Madre Solo Hay ended up feeling quite disappointing for me. Madre Solo Hay is a Mexican series on Netflix that, even though it only contains 8 episodes, essentially functions like a shortened version of a traditional telenovela. Successful and wealthy businesswoman Ana gives birth to a baby girl at the exact same time and inside the same hospital room as Mariana, a much younger woman who comes from a far less privileged background. Because of a hospital error, the newborn daughters are accidentally switched. By the time the truth is eventually revealed, both mothers have already grown deeply attached to the babies and cannot bear the thought of never seeing them again. Because Mariana is still a very young mother, and the baby's father is mostly absent from her life, the two women eventually agree on an unusual solution. Mariana moves into Ana's home, where Ana lives with her husband and her 2 teenage kids, so that both of them can continue being part of their daughter's everyday lives. Honestly, the setup feels like it could easily lead into a very queer storyline. The initial friction between the women fades fairly quickly, and they soon develop a strong friendship that slowly starts to hint at something deeper by the time season 1 reaches its ending. Even though the series contains multiple side plots, the main focus remains on the growing connection between Ana and Mariana as they support one another while handling babies, messy relationships, family complications, and demanding professional lives. Very early on, the show reveals that Mariana is bisexual, so when Ana, while under the influence of some drugs, confesses that she loves Mariana, it naturally causes Mariana to start wondering whether she might share those same feelings. And honestly, can you really blame her? Sometimes, the way Ana looks at Mariana feels intense enough that those eyes could stare straight into someone's soul. Since the first season concluded with Mariana finally confessing her feelings for Ana, I started season 2, assuming the story would dive deeper into those emotions, even if things became complicated the way they often do in classic telenovelas. However, the new season mostly delivered drama that I personally didn't find very enjoyable. It honestly felt like expecting a delicious homemade 3-course meal, but ending up being served dry, stale bread instead. That doesn't mean there was absolutely no connection between the two women. Ana deciding to invest in Mariana's app created for new mothers, and essentially becoming her business partner, definitely hinted that Ana still has unresolved feelings she hasn't fully dealt with. Mariana, naturally, seems to feel something too. Then there's the whole situation involving Mariana's new boyfriend. Ana appeared very determined to prove that he was a womanizer who couldn't be trusted. At first, the show tried to suggest that Ana might be interested in the man herself, but later, it explained that she was only trying to protect Mariana from getting hurt. Personally, I'm not completely convinced that the storyline was strong enough to prove there wasn't at least a little jealousy involved. Ana clearly cared a lot about persuading Mariana that he wasn't the right person for her. Just saying. Throughout the season, Ana continued to look at Mariana in ways that clearly hinted those feelings had not disappeared. So even though the show mostly brushed aside the romantic tension near the beginning of the season and hardly addressed it afterward, it still seemed obvious that something deeper was going on beneath the surface. Sadly, the second season ended up focusing much more on the drama surrounding the former partners. My issue wasn't really that Ana was coping with the breakdown of her marriage, or that Mariana was sorting out custody matters with her baby's father. Those storylines actually make sense if the series eventually plans to bring Ana and Mariana together. The real problem was that the two male characters became exhausting to watch. The writers clearly attempted to portray them in a somewhat sympathetic light. Juan Carlos was shown as affectionate toward Ana, and although he cheated, Ana had also been unfaithful in the relationship. Meanwhile, Mariana originally tried to keep Pablo away from their daughter Valentina because she worried he might turn out unreliable like her own father. As time passed, however, Pablo proved that he genuinely wanted to be a committed parent. Even so, the overall storyline still felt messy and lacking creativity. Both ex-partners somehow ended up working in the same office as the women. Jealousy eventually turned into a custody lawsuit over Valentina, and everything escalated into what looked like a very hostile divorce battle. It honestly came across as if the men were throwing childish fits because things weren't going their way, while Ana and Mariana seemed much more prepared to move forward with their lives. Unfortunately, these conflicts took up a massive portion of screen time and created drama that I personally had little interest in watching. Because of this, many of the discussions between Ana and Mariana across the season ended up focusing on those problems rather than on their own relationship. And honestly, that just wasn't something I particularly enjoyed. Ana and Mariana truly deserve better, or maybe they simply belong with each other. By the time the season reached its ending, their relationship had mostly been pushed into the background. I can understand why the writers might choose that direction, because once both characters openly admit their feelings, it becomes quite easy for them to just end up together. Even so, I didn't really enjoy the complicated obstacles the story placed in their way. Ironically, those same complications eventually bring them closer again, when they decide to pretend they're in a relationship for what feels like a somewhat forced reason. Don't get me wrong, that twist was fun and honestly ended up saving the season for me. Still, it doesn't completely justify the long path the writers took before arriving at that moment. In a previous video essay, I talked about how women-loving women relationships are often portrayed in soap operas and telenovelas. This sort of storytelling approach is actually very common within those genres. Even so, I was hoping that the shorter episode format might help remove some of the more predictable cliches. Despite that, the show still seems to be moving toward a Sapphic ending for these two characters. Season 1 already laid the groundwork for this, with the idea of Ana and Mariana raising their daughters together, after the babies were switched at birth. In the second season, Mariana steps up to support Ana's teenage daughter through her emotional ups and downs, and despite some early disagreements, the two women eventually return to being each other's strongest allies and closest confidants. It's clear that the writers want to emphasize how well these two complement one another. And then came the kiss. That moment felt like a final gesture to the viewers in the closing seconds of the season, almost as if saying, yes, the season had its frustrations, but here's a treat for the Sapphics. There really wasn't a practical reason for them to reveal their pretend relationship at the app launch, except for dramatic effect. Then they kissed for an unusually long time in front of their families, exes, investors, and an unsuspecting boyfriend. Honestly, a brief, simple kiss would have conveyed the point perfectly. Mariana looked almost shocked afterward, while Ana seemed utterly satisfied with herself. Even though the ending makes me likely to tune into the next season, it also left me slightly wary. Yes, the fake relationship plot promises to bring their feelings to the forefront again, but after seeing how season 2 unfolded, I'm cautious not to have high expectations. At this moment, my confidence in the show is a bit fragile, especially given the emotional promise shown in season 1 versus what actually played out in season 2. I expect the exes will still have significant roles in the upcoming season, probably becoming even more frustrating as Ana deals with her divorce and Mariana works through custody issues. It wouldn't shock me if both men try to win back the two women once again. The true highlight of the show continues to be Ana and Mariana themselves, their natural chemistry, deep emotional bond, and the way the narrative has been crafted so that the most sensible conclusion is for them to finally be together. Otherwise, this would rank as one of the most obvious cases of queerbaiting I've ever witnessed. While a third season hasn't been officially announced yet, I strongly anticipate that it will happen. If it does come, I also suspect it could be the concluding season. Netflix often handles series this way, and structurally it feels like the story is gradually heading toward its intended ending. The ultimate aim of the series appears clear: uniting these two women and combining their complicated families. Ideally, the final act will compensate for the slow middle section of the story. What are your thoughts on the second season, and how do you feel about the show as a whole? Share your opinions in the comments below, and if you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate notifications. Until next time, lady lovers.